Hi everybody, this is Angelo Quinones, and I am back with another Greek lesson, so let's get at it, okay? I am going to be using as a textbook the Manual Greek Grammar of the New Testament, okay? A Manual Greek Grammar of the New Testament by Professor Julius R. Manti, who was a professor for and taught Greek for about 70 years, okay? And Professor Dana. Now, they wrote a landmark work, okay? This Manual Greek Grammar of the New Testament is a landmark, okay? It was written in the 1950s and survives as one of the best Greek manuals of the New Testament ever made. Now, let's get to the alphabet again, okay? Now, there are 24 Greek letters in the alphabet, and let me give them to you. Now, there are 3 columns, okay, that I'm going to at least copy. Okay, there are 4 in the book, but I'm going to copy at least 3 of them. Now, the first column is the names of the letters, and then you have the capital version of the letters, and then you have the small letter version, okay? Now, let's get at it, all right? So we have alpha to omega. We have 24 Greek letters, like I said before. And I'm going to try to make this as fun as possible because Greek lessons are like learning Greek. I mean, let's just face it, okay? All right, so we have the first letter, and that's alpha. Now, that's spelled out A-L-P-H-A, okay? And let's just go through them all. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, Xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, c, omega. Okay, so let's check out the spellings of these, okay? Now, alpha is spelled out A-L-P-H-A. Beta is spelled out B, like in boy, E-T-A. Gamma is spelled out G-A-M-M-A. Delta is spelled out D-E-L-T-A. Epsilon is spelled out E-P-S-I-L-O-N. Zeta is spelled out Z, like in zoo, E-T-A. Eta is spelled out E-T-A. Theta is spelled out T-H-E-T-A. Iota is spelled out I-O-T-A. All of these letters, the names of them are capitalized, the first letter anyway. Kappa is spelled out K-A-P-P-A. Lambda is spelled out L-A-M, like in Mary, B-D-A. Mu is spelled out M-U. Nu is spelled out N-U. And then you have Xi, okay? That's how you say it. Xi, like K-S, Xi, and that's spelled out X-I. Omicron is spelled out O-M-I-C-R-O-N. P is spelled out P-I. Rho is spelled out R-H-O. Sigma is spelled out S-I-G-M, like in Mary, A. Tau is spelled out T-A-U. Upsilon is spelled out U-P-S-I-L-O-N. Phi, like fee, fi, fo, fum. You know, like, remember the giant? Remember in the fairy tale? Okay, so that's spelled out P-H-I. Then you have Chi, and that's spelled out C-H-I. And then you have C, and that's spelled out P-S-I, the P is silent, and then you have omega, and that's spelled out O-M-E-G-A. Now, let's look at the capital versions of these letters, okay? This is very important. Now, before I do, let me just say this, okay, that in section 2 of this book, okay, this is just incredible resource, okay? I just want you to get it. You can get it in Amazon.com. There's probably a couple of copies left, right? So, it says in section 2, when it's talking about syntax, okay, that that language is thought expressed in symbols. either writing, okay, speech, or even sign language. Okay, so actually what syntax is all about and what language is all about, okay, is that someone is thinking about something and he or she wants to express the thoughts in his or her mind to another, and that is expressed in symbols. Okay, that's just the deal. So let me just return to this in the alphabet, and let's check out the capital letters. Now, some of the capital letters are similar to our letters in the English alphabet, which is a lot of help. Okay, now the first letter, alpha, as you can see under the capital column, alpha is equal to our A, if you want to put it like that, and it looks exactly like an A when it is capitalized. Okay, now let me tell you something about the alpha, okay, because you have different pronunciations. You're going to be reading in this book about rough breathing and soft breathing, okay, and you have markers for that are above the alpha that will designate it as rough breathing or soft breathing. Now, what do you mean, Angelo, by rough breathing and soft breathing and all this stuff? Okay, well, what I mean is that I'll give you an example. Our K, which can be translated beginning when it's talking about time and a stream and things like that, and is correctly translated ruler when you're talking about persons, that will have a soft breathing indicator above the alpha, okay? It looks almost like an apostrophe. So that'll be above, that is not called an apostrophe, Elysian, but we're going to come to that later. But I'm just telling you what it looks like, and it's going to be above the alpha. And when you see that, you sound out the alpha like ah. Okay, now if it had a rough breathing indicator, okay, then you're going to be sounding off the alpha just like you sounded off in the Greek word harmartia, which means sin. You just caught me there saying ha with an H. That is because it is rough breathing. Okay, so you have hamartia, which means sin, and then that's with a rough breathing. And then you have the absence of aspiration in RK, okay? You have no rough breathing there. That's why you just say RK and not HARK, okay? All right. So anyway, that's very important. Of course, you see in Matthew chapter 1, verse 1, you see a few names there. You have Jesus' name in Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. You have Abraham there. And the capital version of A is attached to that name because all names are capitalized. Okay, so let's go to the beta. The beta is kind of easy because it looks like a capital B when the Greek beta is capitalized. Okay, and so you're going to see it capitalized when you're talking about biblios, when you're talking about a book. Okay, and that also appears in Matthew 1:1. Okay, so that's going to be capitalized. Okay, so that's a beta. Okay, and as you can see nearby, that's a small version of the letter beta. It looks like a B also. Now this one is kind of tricky. Gamma. Okay, gamma looks like an incomplete capital F. It doesn't function like that though. It has a G sound. Okay, like get or girl. It's actually the capital version of it. And as you can see besides it, that the gamma when it is small, okay, looks like a Y, like yellow or Yankee or yo-yo. Okay, so let's stay with the capital version first. Okay, so whenever you see something like this, okay, like I call it an incomplete capital F to help you guys, you're going to sound it off like G, okay? And you see that in the letter to the Galatian church, okay, you're going to see that letter capitalized like that. Or Galilee, you're going to see that as well, okay? Or genesis, which is the Greek word for Genesis, and it means beginning, and it means also birth too. So you're going to see that there, okay? Now, so if you see an incomplete capital F, you could sound it off as G, like get, girl, and things like that. Now, this one is very, very tricky. Okay, the delta, it looks like a triangle. Now, that's equal to our capital D, okay, meaning the sound. So you sound it off. When you see a triangle, you're going to see it in David's name, okay, Dawid. And you'll also see that in chapter 1 of Matthew's Gospel when you're talking about the genealogy. And so when it looks like a pyramid or it looks like a triangle. It's the only letter that looks like that in the 24 letters of the Greek alphabet. So you're going to have no problem, okay? You sound it off like duh, like David or Donald or Dorothy, okay? When you see a triangle. So that's the delta, okay? Now, thank God that the small version, the small letter delta looks like a D. It's just tilted a little bit to the left. Now, let's go to the epsilon. Epsilon looks like a capital E when it is capitalized, so that's very easy. And it looks a little bit like an E as well when it is small. Now, zeta looks like a Z when it is capitalized, so that is very good, okay? That's very helpful. Now, eta is tricky because it looks like an H and it doesn't act like an H and it's not an H. So when you see that, it has the sound A, okay, at times, okay. So so the thing is that when you see the capital eta, okay, you pronounce it as A. One small thought about the eta, when it is with a rough breathing, it is pronounced hey, hey, with a rough breathing. Okay, and now let's go to the theta. The theta looks like a 0 or an O with a line right straight through it. Now that is very important. That's a very important letter. And it's translated TH in manuals. And that is very important because that's the first letter for the word for God, theos, okay? All right, so that's very important. And the small letter is similar to it, but it looks like a little capsule, you know, tilted to the right a little bit. Now, staying with the capital version of this is very important to understand that that is the first letter for the name for God, theos. And not only the name for God, you have the goddess Diana, I believe it's in chapter 19, that it talks about her, and she's a thea. Okay, she's a thea, she's a goddess. Okay, it has the alpha in the end of that, thea. Instead of theos, you have a thea. Now, also, Satan is called the god of this age, or god of this world. So he's also called Theos in the secondary sense, of course. You know, he's a god, you know. So he's also called that. Now we go to iota. And iota looks like a capital I, and it's equal to our I. And that's very important because that capital letter is going to be found for the first letter of Jesus in Greek, Iesus. His name is spelled out iota, eta, okay, sigma, omicron, upsilon, sigma. Okay, so iota is equal to our I, and that helps us out because it looks like an I anyway. Now, of course, you have kappa. And kappa is equal to our K, and it looks like a K, so that's kind of cool. That's kind of easy. Now this one is a little tricky. It's lambda is equal to our L, and it looks like an incomplete capital A. Now you're going to see that for the first letter for Luke, okay, when you go to Luke's Gospel. So if you go to Luke's Gospel and you see like an incomplete capital A, well, you sound it off la, like Larry. Okay, now, of course, mu is kind of easy because it's equal to our M, and it looks like an M when it's capitalized. Now the next letter is nu, like in Nancy, and that looks like a N, so that's kind of easy, okay? Let's go back to the mu. That's going to be the first letter when it's capitalized for Mary's name. Okay, at least copy. Okay, there are 4 in the book, but I'm going to copy at least 3 of them. Now, the first column is the names of the letters, and then you have the capital version of the letters, and then you have the small letter. It was written in the 1950s and survives as one of the best Greek manuals of the New Testament ever made. Now let's get to the alphabet again, okay? Now there are 24 Greek letters in the alphabet, and let me give them to you. Now there are 3 columns, okay, that I'm going to... Hi everybody, this is Angelo Quinones, and I am back with another Greek lesson, so let's get at it, okay? I am going to be using as a textbook the Manual Greek Grammar of the New Testament, okay? A Manual Greek Grammar of the New Version, okay? Now, let's get at it, all right? So we have Alpha to Omega. We have 24 Greek letters, like I said before. And I'm going to try to make this as fun as possible because Greek lessons are like learning Greek. I mean, let's just face it, okay? All right, so we have the first letter, and that's Testament by Professor Julius R. Menti, who was a professor for and taught Greek for about 70 years, okay? And Professor Dana. Now, they wrote a landmark work, okay? This Manual Greek Grammar of the New Testament is a landmark, okay?